Today I'm going to be working on my 2015 Jeep Patriot and replace the battery and battery connector. I've been having issues with my power lately. My car would just turn off for whatever reason with no lights whatsoever in the dome and no power whatsoever to start the car, and I almost got stranded a couple times. So what ended up being the problem is that my battery is corroding a little too much, and looks like the connection on the battery on the positive side is corroded so much to where it's not getting a nice solid connection. To get my way out of the stranded situation the other day, I don't recommend this, but I shoved my Gerber right in between here to make that connection through the battery to get my car started, and it was enough for me to get home. Like I said, I don't recommend that, but I figured it's time to replace the whole connector because the whole thing is pretty corroded and it's not going to get any better. So I went to Blaine's Farm and Fleet and I got one of these new connectors for my positive side, and I got a new battery as well. So first thing we're going to do is replace that connector and take this bad boy out. Okay, so first thing you want to do is you want to take off these two terminals here. They are 10 millimeter on each of these. I already loosened them up, so you can go ahead and take these bad boys off. And this one's pretty on there, probably from all the corrosion. Okay, you just want to set those off to the side so they're not touching anymore. Kind of tuck them off to the side, and then you see that bolt that's right down here. You got to loosen that one up as well, and that is a 1/2 inch. And so I just used a bunch of extensions here. Okay, and the reason why I chose a ratchet with a bunch of extensions on it is because there's not a lot of space in between here. If you're in between the battery trying to get a wrench and your hands in there, there's really not a lot of space at all. So I got enough extensions just to kind of get it above the battery, and it makes it a lot easier to untighten. So I got that nice and loosened up, so I'm going to pull out the battery now. Alright, just got to pull the battery out now so I can work on that positive side connector. Set that off to the side. Okay, so now I got a little bit of room to work on this connector here. I was having some issues with this bolt coming off. It was pretty rusted. So this one is an 11 millimeter wrench. And first I just sprayed a little bit of WD-40 on there to kind of loosen it up, and it finally broke free. So I was able to loosen this guy up, and I'll just take that off. You can just see how corroded this thing was. Like, no wonder why it wasn't making a decent connection. Plus my battery is like 7 years old, so I figured, oops, that had something to do with it. Okay, so I have the new connector here, and it looks like initially they want you to cut the wire and shove the wire in here and smush it back into place, which would mean I would have to cut this to put that in here and close those on to make a good connection. But I think I'm just going to unscrew one of these sides here and fit it onto where this old connector was. Just slide it right in the middle here. And that should make a decent enough connection anyway. There's plenty surface area that it's connecting to. So it's going to look like that. And I also have my trailer hitch wires that are connecting onto this, and I didn't really want to mess with cutting this wire and having to reconnect all this stuff. This wasn't the problem, it was the old connector that was the problem, and this will still make a decent connection. So I'm just doing it this way, and it's a lot quicker too. Got that on, tighten up both sides, and I should be ready for my new battery. Okay, I got my new battery in there, and the first thing I'm going to do is tighten the battery holder bolt right there. Okay, I got my battery nice and tightened in there. Just be aware of when you're gonna tighten your battery in. Make sure that it's scooted all the way this way into the battery holder. That way it's nice and tight up against there. and then you want to make sure that this thing slides up against the battery as close as it can that way, and then tighten it down. Otherwise your battery will shake all over the place, whereas you can see this is nice and solid, that's not going anywhere. Alright, so now we're going to hook up the connections and it should be good to go. Okay, and before I put on my negative side, this one wasn't as bad, so I didn't get a replacement for it, but there's still a tiny bit of corrosion on there, so I'm just going to take a wire brush and brush that up a little bit just to kind of get a little bit better connection when I put it on my new battery. Alright, should be good to go there. Let me take the negative side off. Put this guy on. Tight fit. Well, in the process of getting this positive connector on, I was trying to spread this open a little bit and it actually broke the frickin' thing off. So I'm going to be doing this whole thing over again after I go into town and pick up a new one. Maybe don't get the zinc, it breaks really easy. But essentially the process is still the same, so hopefully that you got a little bit out of it, and hopefully yours doesn't break like mine did. Alrighty, and the last thing you have to do is just tighten these bolts here on your connectors, and you should be good to go. Alright, so that's all. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you when something else breaks on my car.